Here we go. Hey,
What's happening, man?
I'm all right. I see the Kiss shirt over there.
Oh, fuck yeah, right? Got the
And
key.
Rainbow.
You been to the Rainbow, right?
A million times. A
Well,
million.
I can't see you, Gene. But this takes some time. Oh, there you go.
Here,
Oh man. What's going on, man?
all right. I'm all right. Thanks, by the way. Thank you. I was somebody helping me. My wife was helping me with this. So what's going on with you?
Nothing. I got this show and we're bringing people together in this crazy time just to enjoy some stuff. And I gotta say, you're just one of my heroes. As a kid, just a fucking renegade, man. Just breaking down every wall. I want to show you my band, and it exists because of you. We based
really.
I got drums along the Mohawk as a kid, and I
Okay.
realized that Prince could coexist with heavy metal. This is my band, Fire in the Ashtray, inside of a disco ball.
Cool.
You know, my boy Shawnee B, Tony from Oakland, and we've been able to come together and mix Kiss and Prince and Cameo, and it's because of you,
Cameo.
man.
I love that. I worked with Cameo. Actually.
I know you play guitar, man.
That's right.
I mean,
right.
Gene, you're just such an icon and outlaw. And as a kid, you couldn't read or YouTube what you were about. You're just showing up, crossing every world in the world, man. From Springsteen to Kiss to Plasmatics. Tell me about that, man.
Okay, that's kind of been my objective the whole time, if you want to know the truth. I just, I wanted to, well, for one thing, I've always been into breaking barriers,
totally.
In general, color barriers, like going way, way, way back. I grew up on Long Island, way out on Long Island.
Oh man, and I grew up in Jersey. Long Island's worse than Jersey. That's a rough, yeah.
But where we moved out to, I was the only black kid for like miles.
Right.
So I grew up with a completely different, upbringing around kids that listen to Zeppelin and Steely Dan on 8 tracks and this and that. And living in that world made me realize that, like you said about the coexisting, we can all coexist. When I first got out there, people would be like, hey, chocolate man. Literally stuff like that. And then after that, you realize by setting an example, being a good dude and doing things right and showing them another side besides what they were seeing on TV in those days, blacks being thieves and robbers.
Yeah.
Would all of a sudden kind of changes everybody's perspective. So from that point on, it kind of made it one of my purposes in life to do that is just, there's different ways. I know we're going through this whole thing right now.
No, I like it, man. No, I like it because I got to tell you, even for me, I loved you my whole life.
But I mean, so I kind of pursued this road. So from that as a child to a teenager, and then when I joined the Plasmatics, again, I was the only black guy in the band, obviously. But not only that, I was the only black guy, period, because there were no blacks in the audience.
Yeah.
Until like a couple of shows, then I'd see 3, then I'd see 12.
Yeah.
Because it's just people who want to self-express, be themselves, do their own thing, but they always felt inhibited because they were like, well, all my friends are listening to hip hop or listening to this. I can't be a rock guy. I'm going to be, outcast.
Yeah.
So so I did that as far as color and as far as trying to integrate people. I think blacks and whites, everybody should learn from each other, enhance their lives by the experiences they get from the other side. So that's one side. And then musically, I also felt like, the music business is not always easy. So you can be an artist and all of a sudden, that career is not working, you can't tour. So I want to be able to produce still, I'm saying?
Right.
To write songs and also be able to run, like a company as an executive. And I said, that way, it would be great if you could have equally successful, careers in each field. Wouldn't that be cool? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And that's what I worked towards. And then slowly, the Ramones came, then Kiss, and then, like you said, Cameo and Lionel Richie. And my feeling is a great song is a great song. So I don't care, what kind of music, but if it's good, it's good.
It's amazing. And what I know about the guys that I play with that I think when I watched them go, but they were influenced by Kraftwerk and Judas Priest and Cameo. And when I started playing with them, I hear Feel the Heat, the Sorry I Missed Your Wedding Day. I go, that's what that was. And I go, what is it about Gene? He goes, Gene knows how to not just run a drum machine. He knows to put the swing on it. Yeah, to swing.
Well, what they didn't realize is for those songs, I played the drums.
Oh, you did?
So I was working in what was it? Polar Studios, ABBA studio. So
Okay.
literally, I would play to it, and of course we'd make sure everything was really good in time. Besides the little swing you say, and then sometimes I'd overdub timbales. Like all those
Okay.
timbales were played live in the studio. So I'd literally sit there, feel the heat.
Oh, that's you?
That's me playing all that
Oh,
stuff.
man.
Because I grew up, I had a voodoo background. So as a kid, I'd be at voodoo ceremonies in my uncle's voodoo temple in Haiti playing drums.
Oh.
I'd be playing conga drums or bongo drums to the ceremonies. So percussion is something that was just built in.
Voodoo. I mean, dude, so like you're blowing my mind. Like, because as a kid, remember, I'm sitting in my New Jersey bedroom and this guy is everything. Mohawk. He's as cool as Prince, same color as Prince. Sylvester Stallone movie, Kiss things, plasmatics. Like, what box is not being checked here, man? This is just, and then I get drums along the Mohawk, and it just like, this is the way it should be. I mean, it was just that record to go. I mean, there was one song I always, Sorry I Missed Your Wedding Day, that just, to this day, it was such a beautiful statement. And, like.
I'm glad you really got it. I always love that song. You got the whole story about, it's almost like making believe that, you loved her all this time, and then you see her getting married. She has no idea who you are, and you're kind of giving
her man, it would even as a kid, and the thing is, as I get older, it means more.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm glad you're seeing this stuff. I love it.
So here's an easy question: where do great songs come from?
Ha! That's not an easy question. People have a lot of different ways of writing, because I've worked with so many different people. So luckily, I'm fortunate enough to see how other people write. Some people, I hate to say it, put up another track and say, I want to do something like that. Yeah. Then you got other people who just, one guy comes up with the track and then the other one comes up with the top line. When I wrote songs like these songs we're talking about, it really just comes to me. Like, I probably have now, I don't know. First of all, I've got like 1,000 songs in my catalog, but I probably, maybe in the past year, I must have another 300 to 500 ideas just on my phone. When I say ideas, I mean, something will come into my mind and I'll hear the verse, the chorus, the bridge, and I usually sing the melody like one time. And usually that's the melody I keep. Okay. So I'm not somebody who goes like, okay, nah, how about if I go, nah, that's no good. How about if I go, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I just do it, and that's what comes out. And I just say,
well, that's the subconscious. You're living in the subconscious. That's why I felt like I could ask that question, because you're in that special place where they just, like
they come. And there's a time they don't come. So I don't know if it's depending on your mood or what you're going through in life, or like what experiences you've gone through, watching other people going through things, watching your friend be miserable about his wife leaving him, and, kids, or is it this, or is it, I went all the way back to This Is Our House, which was really, in my mind, and everybody I'm sure took it their own way, was really going back and looking at the Germans, the Nazis, and the Jews.
Wow.
This is our house.
And,
basically this German soldier coming up to the house and basically saying, you got to leave. And the kid doesn't understand what's going on. And he's going, go away. This is our house. My mama built it for me, my daddy built it for me, for my mom and I. People would probably never know that was the subject, but that's what I had in my mind.
It makes sense. And I do write songs, and I always say to people, they're easy to write, they're hard to live. It sounds like you're saying the same thing. Living them's the hard part, man.
I know.
Billy Joel had to live Piano Man. Writing it might have been easy, but living it, he said, was
I hear you. And I think probably when things are the most difficult is probably when you have the most to say, which is why a lot of times the first album is usually the best.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah. But I think that subconscious, which I can feel off you, that you do many things to stay there. Once you lose that, I always say, I think is when you stop writing the great songs. But I think staying in that subconscious journey where you get to that place, and that's why I think people party when they were younger, because the hangover state is like kind of that state, but you can achieve it through yoga, meditation.
That's right.
Just being alive, man.
That's right, being alive, and you know, like you said, if it's a God-given thing, it kind of decides when you're going to have it. You know, and at
Yeah,
times
yeah,
it
yeah,
goes
yeah.
both ways. You know, I could feel the creative waves. You know, like what 3 months ago, I went through this thing. It was crazy. I was walking up and down, song after song after song, and then something else ends up happening. You get distracted or something in life, and all of a sudden you don't create anything for a certain
Yeah.
period of time. You know.
And sometimes tell me if you think sometimes the experience you go through, sometimes you don't write when you're in the experience. Sometimes it's when you sift through the wreckage and come home from the war that you're able to write the
That's
song.
right. That's very well put. Yeah.
Thank you,
I agree.
man. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
You know, tell me about Who Wants to Be Lonely, because I felt such emotion. That's another one. You have this tug on me when you pull my heartstrings. It just through the years that I'm going to go to that because we started it. You know, mommy, missed your wedding day. Let's go to that. Then I want to go to something I just heard.
Something you just heard. Who wants to be? Well, you know, Paul and I wrote that together, and it's you know, a lot of the subjects might seem like they're I don't I want to use the right word, simple.
Right.
You know, because that's a pretty good question. Who wants to be lonely? Nobody wants to be lonely.
Right.
You
No.
know what I mean? And we kind of get into it. But this is something I wrote with Paul. Like, actually, it was the second album, Asylum, after, you know, we had done Thrills of Night on the first record. And then we did that one and All Night on that same record.
Yeah. You wrote both and played on both.
That's right. That's right. And that just, actually, the playing just came. It was one of those things where we do these little demos on a 4-track.
Yeah.
Chinese food.
Yeah.
I'm getting hungry now. No, I'm leaving.
And then you'll be hungry 2 hours later after you eat
right.
it. Right.
I remember doing it. It was either Fostex or something like that, and we'd sit down and bounce things back and forth, and I'd play bass on it. So finally, when we got in the studio, it was real casual. Paul would say, "Oh, I'm going to be in the studio from 2 to 4 today. Why don't you stop by? Then we'll go have dinner, or we'll do this, or we'll do that." And so I'd just come in, and he'd say, "You know, how about if you play on that song?" Then I said, "Yeah, great." It wasn't supposed to be credited. It wasn't supposed to be anything.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But later on, they started talking about it in books and, you know, and other things. And then now somehow it's credited. You know what I mean? So that's a good thing. So that's pretty much, yeah.
And I get how that I never would have got how that happens till I played with Shawnee and Tony, who come from that Cameo school, and they'd call me to go, "Oh, let's start about 10 o'clock at night." Total different hours. And they know how to work the MPC. And I don't even know who played what on my album. I might not have played bass because Shawnee would take the bass, and you're just like, it's a different way of writing. It's just, you're not making demos, you're making albums, and you don't know who's playing what. And I think it's beautiful.
That's right. And these days you have to make records practically. You know, back in the day, we used to do a lot of demos.
Yeah, yeah.
Even for labels, you know.
Yeah.
Here's a demo. I mean, my first demo was pretty simple demo. I played the different instruments. It was, you know, it was decent quality, but my other demos were really, you know, in the bedroom. Now record companies won't even listen to that anymore.
There's no such thing as a demo.
Record. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when I songwrite for other artists. They want to hear something that sounds like they can just take their artist, put them in there, switch out the vocal, and they're done. So it's crazy.
So there's this new song. I don't know how new it is, but you wrote it with Paul Stanley, Lordy, like a beat of honey. And dude, it is like Prince meets fucking Prince meets metal. It is. I thought I had that nailed. It's fucking nailing it, man. What's that about? Do you agree? It's like you got that. Oh, it has a little feel of heat, a little modern metal, a lot. It's in a great song.
Well, you know, the funny thing, the Prince story that you're talking about, I've gotten 2 or 3 offers from Prince.
I didn't know about the Prince song. No, tell him.
All the way when I left the Plasmatic.
Because you and him were the ones that liberated, because Prince you and him had this rock element to you that I didn't, it just, in your solo stuff, both you, still rocked, still was metal. It got a metal pass.
I got a metal pass. I know, for example, he loved rock guitar and stuff. I think ultimately he really wanted to be known as a great rock guitarist.
Okay.
You know, but he did a lot of pop stuff because that's, you know, what allowed him to do the other things that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that song, Like a Beat to the Honey, this came out of pretty much nowhere. I was working with Lordy myself, writing with them in Finland. It turns out that I went there to do a Kiss Expo. We had been talking for 3-4 years. And then finally we said, okay, let's write something. We wrote actually 7 songs in like 3 days. We just had a real great vibe for their record. And they were doing a record where they said, listen, the concept is, what if we had a hit in 79? What if we had a hit in 82, 86, 89? What would it have sounded like?
Yeah.
So we're going to use the same microphones, use the same kind of recording techniques, the whole thing, the sound, to try to replicate what it would be like at those times.
Yeah.
I said, well, I think I got something for like end of 80s for you.
Oh man.
And they were huge Kiss fans. So I said, it's something that Paul Stanley and I wrote. I played it for them. They said, we love this. And then next thing you know, they released it as a single. The album came out and it just did really well. Their album started #1 in Finland, I believe. And I think a couple of other countries, top 5. Germany was number 13, which is I think that was their highest chart position in that country ever. So it just was a surprise, thing.
And Mike Monroe playing sax on it's like having that's like having Clarence play on your song in Freehold, New Jersey in Finland.
Exactly. That was Mike Monroe. He's the big deal over there.
Yeah, man.
Big deal. I didn't even know he played saxophone until we made this record.
Yeah, on All Those Wasted Years was the first time they did that video that I saw them.
Oh, okay.
You know what's weird about Hanoi and is that if you go, you like Hanoi Rocks, right?
Yeah. I've always liked. I like Michael a lot as well.
The line in one of their, I think, Underwater World, they wrote the line, "Welcome to the jungle, welcome to the sea." They wrote that, and I think Mystery City, Paradise City, and it's not like I heard Izzy brought their Kerrang with Hanoi into a Guns N' Roses practice, and like this is the new template. That was Guns N' Roses template.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
that's very cool because they were really close, right? They were all really close, Michael and the band.
Well, everybody, Hanoi were like would you say?
I said Hanoi Rock, the band.
Yeah. They were. They were the template for Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses succeeded. Axl put out the Hanoi original records on Uzi Suicide label.
Yeah. I didn't even know that. Okay.
And speaking of that world, where you got you and the Plasmatics coming to Little Steven producing Lords of the New Church. Am I correct? I think he did, but he was navigating worlds with you too. Was he a buddy navigating all the different worlds with you in New York City?
He was a buddy from the beginning. I went with Steven rather than going with Prince. Actually, I went with Steven.
So you got offered the Prince. You got offered
that was right after the Plasmatics. I was shocked. I mean, I had gotten a call from his manager that says, Prince would like you to play bass with him, and I said, well, I'm really working on trying to do a solo record. And he said, well, we talked about that too. And he'd be willing to produce a record for you and same thing. And they had everything all figured out already. And I was like, Prince likes the Plasmatics. And he said, he's made it to every show he could make it to. He said, he really loved this stuff. And I said, wow. And then of course I ran into a couple of his other guys as well. He told me, and a couple of his other guys told me as well, yeah, we used to go to all the shows, when you were playing at, in the city. And so that's where that all came about. And so with Steven, basically I joined Steven. I was trying to get this solo deal. No one would sign me because I left the Plasmatics. They said, if you want to blow up a car or do something like
a chainsaw,
I'm going to close this. So it's a little loud.
No problem, man.
So, and they said, otherwise, it's just not going to happen. Forget it. You're singing that's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny. Oh my God.
So that was the end of that. And then finally, after being very frustrated, Steven, I met Steven. It's a long story, but little Steven was producing a song for a guy named Gary U.S. Bonds.
This Little Girl Is Mine.
This Little Girl Is Mine.
I love it.
Yeah. You know that? Great song, right?
Oh, Springsteen wrote it, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, Springsteen wrote it, yeah.
So, and Gary Bonds was the one who had discovered me at 14, 15 that year on the road. I mean, basically on Long Island playing, and I became his musical director. So it just made a full circle. I went back to that manager after leaving the Plasmatics, and he told me, I'm working with Steven and Springsteen for Gary right now. Why don't I get you and Steven together and see if anything, comes out of it? So I got together with Steven, and he told me, listen, you're not going to get a deal this way. He says, but if you come work with me, I'm taking a little break from Bruce for a minute here, and we do, then people will realize if you can hang here, that you're talented, it'll give you credibility, and it'll give you what you need to try to move forward. And it made a lot of sense. So I joined Steven.
Oh, and the video was so cool, and it was awesome, man. It allowed that was strong, man.
Yeah, it was strong. It was a great experience for me. First, we did the Men Without Women album with all the brass and great brass from Diana Ross. It was a different world for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even then we got Gary Tibbs, David Rosenthal, Dino Danelli from the Young Rascals, and Gene Cornish. We had a lot of great people, that came in and out of the Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul, and it was great.
Was that ever hard for you? Because I know for me, having so many different friends in different areas, sometimes it's hard bringing them together. I've never seen Kiss and Springsteen in the same room. There's no picture for all. You never see those worlds even talk about each other.
They don't.
Okay, they don't. They don't.
They don't. But at the same time, you're right. I was in both because I can remember. This is going further when I was doing the Crown of Thorns album in LA.
Great album. Yeah.
Thank you.
That Gene put out, right? Did Gene put that out? Or
no. We were supposed to be put out on Interscope originally,
okay.
And then we waited too long. It took too long. A lot of chefs.
Yeah.
Long story. It didn't come out there, but then it came out on all different labels like Avex in Japan.
Okay.
Different label in England and all different countries. So it came out ultimately. But at that studio, we're recording at A&M, and I think that's the first time that Paul and what do you call it? Springsteen met.
Really? A&M on La Brea, right? Right in Hollywood, right, the old Henson Studios or the future Henson. Yeah.
That's right. And so he came over. Oh, you're working with John. Great. It was the first time they ever met.
Whoa. See, because of you. That's really cool. All that New York City time and never.
I know, it's crazy. So that's pretty much, as far as those worlds coming together, the only time that kind of stuff would happen, it's a small business.
Yeah, so that's why I never Kiss and Springsteen, they're like East Coast, never, not one picture, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And the connection of you, yeah.
There were places in New York, like, whatever, Columbus, another place called Heartbreak where Paul and I met, and places where everybody went. Didn't matter, rock guys, actors, everything. Even though, to tell you the truth, the real rock guys never really liked that world, unless it was Paul. There were different kind of rockers.
Yeah.
They were the rockers who would never go to like a upscale restaurant and this like that. They rather go to the pub and have a beer.
Right. Yeah.
Rather than be sipping on wine in Columbus.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's why it did bring like minds together. But
you brought them together, and it's weird because
a lot of credit here.
I was so influenced by you, and you showed me that I could mix so many worlds. Definitely the Prince, what was hard rock. I Drums Along the Mohawk just always just changed my life. All my bands have that. It's easier to refer to it as the Prince influence because people get it, but it was your influence. I mean, I don't know if you remember Kim Fowley.
Of course. Yeah.
Kim was my manager, and we sat down with your record. He goes, "You need to rip that off," and we wrote a song called "I Won't Be There on Mommy's Wedding Day" because we just ripped his song off. Oh yeah, we just sit with Drums Along the Mohawk and just dissect it. You know what I mean?
I never knew that because when I knew Kim, because when I was
man, you knew Kim.
I did. When I was running
teenage.
Wow, I was running Steven Van Zandt's company. Kim was one of our
DJs. When he was dying, he was staying tight. I'll send you a pretty cool picture of me. He was like a father to me.
Oh wow, there's a small world.
I'll tell you, it's a bad story, but you'll get this. Kim used to make me write when he started working me 15 songs a day when I was 21. Verse and chorus, man. So of course I was in Hollywood 21. Someone said, "Here, try some of this crystal meth. You'll be able to write." And I'm doing it. And I'm like, whoa, this is working. And I'm playing in Palm Springs. And he was such a good dude. Because if you work with him, he was a good dude under all that stuff.
Yeah.
He called my parents to tell them I was on drugs. And can you imagine? I'm calling back in the days of busy signals. Kim's line's busy. My parents, my dad is on the phone with Kim Fowley. Oh my God. Woo.
Shoot. Well, that's an experience.
Yeah. And it's and he embraced, he said, I said, I really like, I had to say Prince instead of you because Prince to record companies. And I like Guns N' Roses. He goes, no, you say your Prince meets Metallica. That's what I want you to do. You say, and it's because, and one time I meet we play, and Gene Simmons considered signing our band, and he brought me up. I was summoned up to the top of the whiskey, and it
Okay.
looked like it was going to be good. And I tell Gene, he's like, "Who are you listening to?" I go, "Prince meets Metallica," and he goes, "You'll never make it. Rock bands don't listen to Prince; they listen to the L.A. Guns." And you use the word "dude," and it's a word of the past. And that was it.
Are you serious? Oh,
True
God.
story. You get it because you know him. You know
I
it's
worked
like
with Gene for a long time. I know, that's really
you know
funny.
that when it would come out of these guys'
That's
mouths.
exactly what he'd say. You'll never make it.
You'll never make it because rock bands don't listen to Prince; they listen to the L.A. Guns.
To the LA Guns.
Yeah, exactly. See, you get it. Like, all right, but
That's funny. That's a funny thing. Yeah,
man.
yeah.
So what are you up to now, Gene? What do you? I keep calling you Gene. I know it's Jean, but Gene. When I was a kid, reading. I'm going to say it wrong because I've been programmed for 40 years of how I'm going to say it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But it's Jean, but don't worry.
How do you say it? Jean Beauvoir, right?
Beauvoir, and it's Beau, but it's like a bo. Beauvoir.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And that's it. I'm working on my book. I'm doing a life story right now that I'm going to deliver. Actually, it's got to be within the next 8 weeks or so to be delivered. So it's going to be a minute before it's out, but it's basically goes from the very beginning till now, and that's what I've been really concentrating a lot on. Besides that, I did a show a couple of weeks ago, which was it was called Christmas Masquerade.
Okay.
It was a limited show. We only could sell 200 tickets because of what's going on with Corona and everything. Yeah. But it was, it was a good show. It was streamed around the world. So that was very cool. And Bruce Kulick was involved and Todd Kearns. They did an acoustic thing together. I played, Ace Frehley's band played. And it was good. That was good. And there were a few other bands that were there too that were just happening. It was a great event. And let me see what else.
I'm going to put links to everything in the chat, and I'll put links when your book comes out. Because man, I'm going to start. We have a heavy metal book club here, actually, and that's going to be not that you're heavy metal, but we're going to read your book for it when it comes out. That's going to be a great one.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, man. That's
yeah.
So that's those are the main things. I'm always working on other things. There's always stuff going, I've got some kind of request for Feel the Heat for some TV thing. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. I'm working on that, but primarily the book right now is what I'm trying to focus on. And then I'm going to get back in the studio after that. And I've got a lot of recording ideas that are piling up, and I'm like, I want to record them, but
that's awesome, man.
I've got to stay focused.
Well, you've got, whatever you're doing is working. Your work output has just been insane through the years, your inspiration. And before we go, what's your process for writing your book? What's that process been?
It's pretty interesting, actually. I dictate everything into my phone.
Okay.
And I can do it in snippets. So for example, first of all, I've had notes for probably 15 years.
Right. That's what I've seen. It's a
long time ago, and I just never followed through. I never shopped it, but I always wrote notes.
Yeah.
So I had that first of all, which I gave to my co-writer, and his name is John Ostrowski. He is the one who actually co-wrote the Ace Frehley book.
Okay.
So I basically talk things. I could be maybe in an afternoon. I might talk 52 different snippets of a time period, whatever, my time with Kiss or whatever. And that gets all talked into it. Then I send it into my office. They transcribe it, and then they send it to my co-writer.
Oh, that's great.
And then he writes, and then we go back and forth, and that's how it's been pretty smooth, I gotta say.
Man, that's cool.
Not at the beginning. I lost my first co-writer because of COVID. He had to deal with his kids and homeschooling and everything. So that cut into some months of my process, but it's back on track.
Can you imagine, dude? You don't realize sometimes you take for granted the creative process and how beautiful and wonderful it is to our souls. You know what I mean?
I know. You do take it for granted.
You do, because look at everything you're doing. Well, I mean, you like, and look how great you look. It's just, I bet you. I mean, the creative process is probably key.
Well, I have been working out a little bit. I gotta say, I've been.
What you been doing? I'm a yoga fan. At 51, I
love yoga. I haven't been to yoga in a while, but I may start it again. I did martial arts for a lot of years.
Okay.
And then it started getting a little hard on my body, if you want to know the truth. But so I'm doing that a little bit on my own. I do my own bag work and stuff like that. Yeah. And I go to the gym. I do some weight training a little bit, nothing much, and I do a lot of stuff at home. I'll tell you the truth. I'll do, in the course of a day, 100, 150 push-ups. Just
Right.
I
And you
don't
also
know.
don't look like you're living at Burger King. It looks like there's probably a pretty good there's a pretty good diet
As
going
much
on.
as I'd like
I
to.
do. All right. Well, thanks so much, Gene, and thank you, Jen Warkel, for helping this happen, man. I had a
That's
great
right,
time.
Jennifer. Thanks a lot. All
Okay,
right.
and
We
please
love you.
thank Suzanne for putting this together, Gene.
I definitely will. And it's great meeting you.
Okay, let's hang out 1 second. I just want to say goodbye to you. Hold on.